Hello, Warfare in the Ancient World. Welcome, Team Persians, to the companion lecture for the Persians by Aeschylus. This is a play that was one of the earliest ones we have surviving, and certainly the oldest account of the Third Persian invasion, um, older even than Herodotus. Herodotus is writing in the late 400s. This was written and performed in 472 BCE. So to set the stage, 472 BCE, Athens had been burned and sacked in 480 BCE, so it's not even been a decade. At this juncture, Athens was still in the process of getting the funds to rebuild its walls. It was still on the island of Delos at this point. Themistocles had already advocated for the building of the original long walls that would be fully realized in the decades ahead. But if you're in the audience at the city Dionysia watching the Persians as it's being performed, you're in an Athens that's still in rubble. And to get an idea of the scale of this, what you're looking at here is a picture of the Athenian Acropolis in the 1800s when it was being excavated and restored to its 5th century form. So what's up there now has been reconstructed and indeed is still in the process of being reconstructed from the remains of a whole bunch of different periods. So what's up there now is frozen in the 5th century BCE. It's what they build after the Persian destruction. But what you see in this picture here is what the Parthenon and the other buildings on the Athenian Acropolis were built on top of. When the Persians sacked Athens, they systematically went through all of the fancy buildings and tore them stone from stone off their foundations all the way down to the ground, and then burned them and then stomped on them. When the Athenians went to rebuild, what they did was they used all of the rubble because Persia hadn't left them anything that was usable anymore. But it was sacred, right? These were pieces of a temple, so you couldn't throw them out because you dedicated them to Athena, and you really don't want to see Athena when she's mad. Not pretty. So what they did was they used it as backfill to create a new surface for the top of the Acropolis, and then the classical Acropolis was built over top of this archaic Acropolis. And that rubble was dug out and put into a museum when this reconstruction was done in the 1800s, and that's what you're looking at here. So using my handy dandy red pen, here is the foundation of the classical Parthenon. So everything from here up was built after the Persian invasion. Everything from here down is rubble that the Persians made during the sack. And you would have been looking at just the rubble. They would have started cleaning it up, but as you were watching this play, you would have been able to look around Athens and see the evidence of what the Persians had done to it. So this would have been really fresh in the minds of everyone, which is what makes it so remarkable that Aeschylus sets this play not in Athens, but back in Persia, where Xerxes comes home to his mom and then has to explain, yeah, about that invasion of Greece. I lost, most of the army is dead. All you ladies, you're widows now. I did it. I'm sorry. The Greeks are just the worst, man. The Greeks, they're just so good at war. And then, not satisfied with chewing him out, his mom and his advisors summon the ghost of dead King Darius, who then tells Xerxes exactly what's wrong with his kid. So on the one hand, this is an interesting play in that there are some ways in which Xerxes is made sympathetic. We get to see his mom, his dad. They're disappointed. He's a human. He's processing this military loss, and we get to see the Persian women mourning for their dead husbands and brothers and sons. You get to see everyone absorbing the impact of what this loss has cost Persia. On the other hand, there is a bit of gloating going on here too, because this is an Athenian writing about what he imagines Xerxes' homecoming is. And Xerxes seems really distraught by everything that's gone on. He's admitting to his hubris and this, oh, I never should have invaded Greece. It was a horrible decision. Worst decision of my life. Ah, we barbarians, we just do these things. You know, there are moments where if I were a Persian watching this play, I would have certain feelings about it. And this is something that I challenge you to do when you read this play, is imagine that you're an Ionian Greek, which you could be. Athens is a port town. So either you're an Ionian or you're a Persian on vacation. Maybe you're a Spartan that's come up from Sparta and you're just checking out the theater. And ask yourself, how do I feel about this play? Am I being represented fairly? Is this an accurate representation of the way my family experienced this war? How does this make me feel about hanging out in Athens? Is this going to make dinner really awkward with my Athenian friends? And that's it really. I don't have a ton of background for this one, but use it in good health. Go enjoy the Persians. One thing to look out for is the battle account of the action on Citylea, where the Persian Marines face Greek Marines in this showdown as the Persian victory melts into defeat. And also this moment in the ode where it describes what it's like to have a trireme bearing down on you with the savage eyes and the sails spread like the wings of a hawk. It's one of my favorite parts. And I think it's a really telling moment in that it's one of the few descriptions of being attacked by a trireme from the sea level. Super disturbing. Oh yes, one of you asked last week, and I checked with my colleague Dr. Rosenblum. We don't know as much as we would like to about how boarding actions worked specifically in the Persian Wars. It seems that boarding actions hadn't been figured out too well, so basically if your ship was rammed, it either sunk or you were captured, probably you would be taken and sold into slavery. And certainly that is the norm as future generations figure out how to board more effectively. This is something that takes off in the Peloponnesian War. Rowing crews generally weren't well armed, certainly not well armored. So basically you could either surrender and try your luck with getting retailed, or you could fight and die on the spot. Not a great would you rather, is it? All right, enjoy the Persians. See you next week.